Soldier of Christ, reporting for duty. How's it going, everyone? Hope everyone's doing well and staying safe. Today what I wanted to talk about was I wanted to talk a little bit sort of like about being a Christian and having anxiety. So for anyone that might have been watching my channel for a little bit, I don't know if anyone really realized it, but I'm overall like a very anxious person, and it's strange because sometimes I don't know why. Like, I don't know, it might have been like trauma I had in my youth that I don't quite remember, or something such as that, but I've always been kind of like a mousy and kind of like a cowardly person, and it's always something I kind of wanted to break, but I've never really got around to it, and I've always kind of had like a little bit of a stutter, and it's, always been very embarrassing kind of like being myself and being like this. I've always sort of like, prayed like, God, please help me to stop being such a coward. I've kind of coped with this in like not so great ways. And I don't mean necessarily by actions, but more so like by my thoughts, because being like kind of like this cowardly and anxious person my entire life, it's sort of like, well, what can I do to have people's respect, or what can I do to sort of like, be well liked by people and to not be such a coward. And ever since in my youth, I've been like, obsessed with like violence, whether it be like through media such as like video games, movies, TV shows, through violent things going on YouTube and things such as that. And it's always kind of like intrigued me, and I kind of like sort of like had like kind of like desensitized myself to violence and things such as that. It's ways like that we shouldn't deal with, like anxiety, because sort of like when we start to normalize things that are evil to sort of like cope with things such as anxiety, we start to sort of have like an evil mindset. And when we have this evil mindset, it's like in direct opposition to what God and what God wanted from us. So something to keep in mind is like when you are anxious, what you have to realize is that there's a time for everything. So what I mean by that is, while there is a time for everything, there's also a time where, like, even if you do have anxiety, it's not something that you can really, it's not something you can benefit from, if that makes sense. Like, being a coward will not make you, like, and trying to, like, sort of, like, shell yourself up and sort of make yourself, not a target. You can't really add a moment to your life, as it says in the Bible, because, like, as much as you might try to save your life, as much as you might try to, like, physically defend yourself from the world, like, taking your life, you can't do it, because everything's already, like, sort of predestined. Try to, like, escape death, like, you can't escape the moment that you're going to die, because you are already predestined to die then. And when we sort of have that in mind, it really, like, when I have that in my mind specifically, it sort of like kind of like lifts that weight off your shoulders, but because it's like, well, I can't really do anything, that can sort of like save my life, because I'm already predestined to die. You can't add another moment to your life from, when God says you're supposed to die. So when you sort of like have that in mind, it sort of like, lifts the anxiety off of you a little bit, because when God knows, God knows everything, and He knows, like, the day that, you're supposed to pass. That helps to, realize that, like, if I'm going to die, I might as well die for God. I might as well die die for God in a godly way, and to understand that, even if I were to, like, become, like, the most wealthiest, the most famous, the most successful person, none of that would really add to my life when I go to die, because even then I can't add another moment to my life. And it's sort of like when you have that in mind, you're able to sort of put it into perspective. And sort of like when having this anxiety, of course now you're worried about the future, but when you're worried about the future, you're not focusing on the present. I don't know if anyone else sort of has, like, wanting to sort of like go out and evangelize, excuse me for mispronouncing that, but when you sort of have that, you want to go and witness to other people and you want to speak to Jesus about him, you're like, I'm going to go do that like next year, or I'm going to go, do that in the future. But what you're neglecting is that, you can go and do it now. Like there's nothing stopping you from doing it now except like the anxiety and the fear. You might regret having like, oh, so I could have done it in the future, but now that I didn't do it in the past, then it's sort of like, why didn't I do it? And when you neglect, doing stuff that you can do now and you think, oh, I'll just do that in the future, then, you're sort of like working against yourself. Because it's kind of like, let's say you are like super interested in boxing and you're like, oh, I'm gonna be the greatest boxer of all time. I'm gonna be, I'm gonna be the next Muhammad Ali, or the next Mike Tyson, or the next, Evander Holyfield. The issue though is, you can't really do that without practice. You can't say, yeah, I'm gonna practice, I'm gonna practice next year, and then I'll become the greatest boxer. The thing is, you sort of have to go now, and anxiety, it keeps us from sort of working in now due to having like this like lack of confidence and sort of cowardice. So when you have this mindset of, oh, let's do it now, you know you're really giving yourself a boost, because like, yeah, you might do it more in the future, but why wait to do it in the future when you can do it now, and you can make all the necessary mistakes you need to learn how to do it better in the future, instead of making those other mistakes like further down the line and really messing it up then, when you can just mess up now and you can have even more success later down the line. And that's a great way to look at anxiety, because really, anxiety, when we're Christians, anxiety really doesn't have too much place in our life. Yes, we can be uncomfortable, and yes, we can be a little nervous, but when we're uncomfortable, when we're nervous, that's okay, because we know that we can do all things through Christ that strengthens us. And when we remember, like, okay, Jesus has me, Jesus wants me to do this, then I have to do it. I have to act on it, because no matter what, even if it were to kill me, Jesus still has me, and Jesus knows that I did it for him. And that's all I have for today. So thank you so much again for watching. I hope this video was very helpful to you. And if you'd like to see perhaps more content similar to this, please perhaps consider subscribing, maybe leaving a like or dislike, and commenting down below if you think this video is helpful or you'd like to speak more. And yeah, that's all I have. So thank you so much again for watching, and until next time, Soldier of Christ, out.